Okay, let's talk about this update, or plenty of updates, to the Trinity Poague case. Trinity Poague, she's down in Georgia, Donaldsonville. Well, technically, I guess Americus, Georgia, that's where her college is. That's where I presume she got arrested. And let's talk about these secret lovers. Trinity Poague, and I've been told the name of the dad of the 18-month-old Jackson Williams, who was a little 18-month-old boy, so cute. Sadly, he lost his life. Trinity has been charged with his murder. Now, I've been told Jackson's dad is a man named Juwan J. Williams. There's so many names in this case that it's really confusing, but people are starting to pick up on Trinity's case since we first talked about it. That was on Sunday. We first talked about this Sunday, January 21st. 1 week after Jackson lost his life. And I've gotten a lot more information, and people are going crazy over this. They're searching for information about Trinity's text, her text messages. They want to know stuff about her parents, her boyfriend. They want to know if her boyfriend is speaking out, which he is in a way, if not officially. Her mom, her family, everything. But first, let's go over what I've been able to get officially. Let's talk about the official stuff. Official information. Okay, I do have the incident report. I do have the mugshot, and I've tried to contact the coroner. So first, I've got the mugshot. You've probably seen it, but if you have not, Sumter County Sheriff's Office sent me Trinity's mugshot. Here's her booking photo. All the other things I have requested through a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, Public Records Act, Open Records Act, whatever you want to call it. I requested the arrest affidavit, the probable cause arrest affidavit, incident reports, jail phone calls, actual video from video visits, body cam, dash cam footage of the arrest. I was told by police, at first I thought I was going to get it because I thought I was going to get an invoice. They were getting together how much it would cost to provide me all these things. Sometimes, of course, police departments charge because if they have to have someone editing the body cam and all that stuff, so I thought I was going to get a lot more than I did. But I got a response from police. It says, please see the attached booking photo of Trinity Poague. I got that. This is, and therefore, the additional requested information is not currently subject to open records. I think they meant to say this is still under investigation or something like that. Please direct any questions you may have to GBI Region 3. So I'm still attempting to get the PCA, the probable cause arrest affidavit. I did get in contact with the special agent in charge of the GBI who should be covering this case, Region 3, out of the Americus field office. I sent him a formal public records request, and he told me, I am in receipt of your request and it will be processed accordingly. So pretty soon, even if we don't get all the body cam video of Trinity's arrest and other stuff, we will most likely at some point see her arrest affidavit first. I did receive the incident report from GSW State University Police Department. Now, if you haven't heard of this case, you can watch my previous video, but in a nutshell, Trinity is an 18-year-old beauty queen down in Georgia. She was off at college, a freshman at college. What we've learned is that an 18-month-old little boy in her care, turns out the little boy Jackson was the son of Trinity's boyfriend, not her own son, not biologically or in any way. It was her boyfriend's son. Apparently, according to rumors, he sneaked him into the dorm. I don't think it was the first time that happened. They were visiting over MLK weekend, which will play into what's happening here too in terms of a lack of students being on campus, as we'll talk about in a second. And somehow that little boy ended up dead, unfortunately. Now it appears these two, Trinity and Juwan, I'm calling them secret lovers, and you'll see why in a second. Apparently, something horrible, unexpected happened when Juwan just went out to get food. He came back. His little boy wasn't as he left him. But according to the scuttlebutt, Trinity is turning on Juwan, and she's trying to blame him for the incident. But as of today, Tuesday, January 23rd, 3:26 p.m., as I'm recording this, we still have a dearth of information from the GBI. We don't have a ton of info about the intricacies, the relationship, even little Jackson's injuries, but we have what the family has allegedly told a TikToker. We'll go over that in a second. In the meantime, when people started telling me Juwan was the father of Jackson, it was weird at first because I was looking through social media. I didn't see any interaction between Trinity and Juwan, except what I found on Instagram. I found several photos that belonged to Juwan. Trinity was liking those photos on Instagram. That is the only link. If you were to look at Trinity's TikTok, even though one of her TikTok accounts is down, but I got screen recordings of it. If you were to look at Trinity's Instagram and Juwan's Instagram, you never saw like photos of them together. So now I see why, with all this talk about them seeing each other for about a year, but on the down low, separate. Trinity's own family allegedly didn't even know she was seeing Juwan. But back to more things I've done to try and get information. I was trying to get the autopsy report. I contacted the coroner. I wrote a formal public records request for the autopsy report of the 18-month-old boy. I don't know if his name is technically Romeo Anglaise or Angeles or Jackson Drew or Jackson Williams. There's a lot of different names at play in this case. I had read that Sumter County Coroner Mathis Wright told WALB, according to the birth certificate, the child's name was Romeo Anglaise, but at the hospital, the father gave him the name Jackson Drew. Now, this might be because what I'm being told is Jackson's dad changed the little boy's name after Jackson's biological mom allegedly gave her son over to his dad to care for. Juwan allegedly changed Jackson's name to Jackson Drew. That's why they call him JD. I don't know if it's Jackson Drew Williams, I'm assuming. Anyway, the coroner wrote me back, "Good morning, Plunder, LLC. The public information you seek is public. However, the information you seek is not kept in this office." So that's the deputy coroner in Sumter County, Georgia, and I'm going to keep trying to find the correct coroner. So those are all the factual parts for people who like facts, people who want to know what's true at this point, and I've seriously been digging into this case since I've heard about it, I think 4 days ago. Those are all the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. You won't find a lot in general in true crime cases. When they first happen, you won't necessarily be able to get a lot of facts, especially while it's still under investigation. However, if we move on to what'll be considered rumors, we find out a ton of information. People who allegedly know Juwan or know the situation or live in the town or whatever are speaking out, at least messaging TikTokers and messaging people and leaving comments. So let's go over that now. I'm leaving a link to all my sources below, so you can check them out for yourself. It's a lot just sussing out everything. This is what we're getting from allegedly people in the know who are speaking out, emailing TikTokers, messaging TikTokers, and others. Trinity and Juwan have allegedly been seeing each other for about a year in secret. Her parents didn't even know. I don't know if his parents knew or not. Can you imagine? I keep thinking to myself, if you're Trinity's parents, you don't even know that she's seeing a guy who has a young child, beautiful little boy, and all of a sudden your daughter is arrested and you learn there's some 18-month-old beautiful little toddler in her care, which should have been good care, Unfortunately, that toddler loses his life under mysterious circumstances, and all of a sudden your 18-year-old daughter being sent up the river, she has to go through her due process, so I'm not calling her guilty. We're all innocent in America until proven guilty in a court of law, until there's a confession, until there's something. So they've been seeing each other for about a year. Trinity's parents didn't know. Trinity, allegedly, her phone might do her in. She allegedly searched for ways to possibly harm this toddler. This is what the scuttlebutt is saying, even 1 week prior to the crime. Supposedly, she was jealous of this little boy. I think Juwan and Trinity were on and off, but apparently he sneaked into the dorm, that's what they're saying, and spent time with Trinity. Apparently he's visited before. This college, this university, GSW as they call Georgia Southwestern State University. So they call it GSW for short. They just reportedly put out a dorm rules kind of statement, refresher. Now this reminds me of when horrible deaths or crimes or something happen on a university campus. campus, much of the time officials do want to keep it quiet. They don't want to broadcast it, of course, because they have to keep the integrity of the case. They don't want it out broadcast willy-nilly, but also, let's face it, universities, most of them, are a for-profit business. They don't want word getting out that anything dangerous happened on their campus. It's like a stain. It's like a horrible memory of something happening on campus. But the truth cannot be hidden. And when I first did this, started looking into this, we see Trinity Poague. We see her in these different Miss Donaldsonville, Georgia. You see her in her crowns. You see her competing for like the Miss Peanut pageant, and she didn't win that. And you see her in these regalia and gowns and looking beautiful. We hardly knew the backstory. We hardly knew that all these racial overtones would come into play. Since Juwan is African American, and so it obviously involves multiracial topics, interracial dating. Stuff I'm going to read is going to delve into that issue. Georgia, all these things. Okay, there's a great TikToker speaking out named Booked, Bagged, and Tagged. So she said she got permission from someone close to Juwan to read what he said exactly happened during that tragedy, at least from his perspective. Word for word what the dad said. She's gotten millions of views. If you check the links below, you'll see she's doing a series, something like Justice for JD. You'll see it on her TikTok page, and a couple of her videos have gotten millions of views. It shows you the interest in this case. People are talking about it on court TV, so I see it really picking up steam, and I really hope this little boy gets his justice, his due attention, and everything. It was sad at first when I started researching it, and many people hadn't heard of it or didn't know anything about the case, and I thought, oh my goodness, this little boy, this little victim, I hope his case isn't just going to fall by the wayside. I hope his story, his plight, isn't going to just fall by the wayside, but I am glad to see Jackson getting more and more attention and more calls for justice. According to Booked, Bagged, and Tagged, Juwan had threatened to break up with Trinity many times. It was a toxic relationship. I don't know what went on there, but when we start getting to the quotes of what Juwan allegedly actually said, quote, I left him with my girlfriend, so this would have been before we read what Juwan actually said. I meant to read you guys this actual incident report I got from GSW State University Police Department. A lot of it is redacted, but this will help you understand his quotes. So this happened on January 14th, 2024. The incident. The crime or the incident is called injury, illness of persons on campus. It occurred Sunday, January 14th, 2024. It says time 12:30, on or from January 14th, 2024, starting at around 12:30 to 12:40. So that's just 10 minutes, but we don't know. It's a Sunday. It's the Sunday before MLK Day. We don't know exactly when or if any 911 calls were made. Since this county, Sumter County, I could not find any police dispatch public feed. So it's not like I could grab that audio and get more exact details. And when you hear about Juwan allegedly rushing to the dorm to grab his son and drive him to the hospital himself, we don't know when this stuff started, but it does confirm location of incident, 800 GSW State University Drive, Americus, Georgia, and it says as a cross street, Oaks 2 dormitory, and then it has a redacted part. It sounds like indeed this crime, this tragedy happened on campus. Apparently in the Oaks 2 dormitory, maybe what's redacted is the actual room number. The only thing we have that's not redacted on here when it starts listing people is S, the suspect, Trinity Madison Poague. So it probably has the victim in the first row, and then there's Trinity, the suspect, in the second, and then the last, it just says nothing. It's probably a witness or other, or it's the reporting party. We don't know. It's all redacted. But the synopsis reads, on January 14th, 2024 at approximately 12:40 hours. So this happened around 12:40 p.m. Lieutenant Millage responded to Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in reference to a small child being unresponsive that was transported from Oaks 2 dormitory on the campus of Georgia Southwestern State University. We have it there, the proof in black and white from the police. JD, so Jackson, the little boy, was transported from the Oak 2 dormitory on the campus of GSW to Phoebe Sumter Medical Center. But Lieutenant Millage responded to the hospital, which makes sense because, of course, medical personnel, they're very experienced. They know what's going on. If there's an 18-month-old boy who showed up in the condition he showed up, I'm sure Jackson was in a bad state, as you'll hear coming up from what's being alleged. Medical personnel would know probably upon sight almost. This wasn't some little boy who may have just fallen off of a bed, or I'm sure they see minor injuries all the time. Toddlers might get into things, but when you're talking about a little boy who was brought likely in critical condition in such a bad state, it's no wonder cops were summoned thereto immediately. Here are the quotes that Juwan allegedly made. "I left him with my girlfriend and he was fine when I left. I went to the store, I ran to Pizza Hut. I wasn't gone maybe 20 minutes before she calls when I'm getting out of the car. I'm grabbing the pizza, I'm getting the drinks, and I hear her say, 'JD, JD.'" So this does sound kind of premeditated, perhaps on Trinity's part. If in the short time period, I know people are arguing whether it's 20 minutes, is it 38 minutes, is it 40 minutes? And of course, allegedly, they have all the proof. College campuses will have lots of cameras. They will be able to, I'm sure they already have, as rumors have said, potentially track the time whenever Juwan left. The minute he left that dorm, I'm sure they have Pizza Hut receipts and whatever store he went to, and whenever he returned, they will know the exact time period he was gone. And why in that exact time period would the little boy be so injured? It doesn't make sense. It sounds like the things that Trinity is spewing won't hold up in court, but I am waiting for more evidence, of course. As soon as Juwan leaves and he's running these errands, was this pre-planned and plotted on Trinity's part? You know, did she call him and all of a sudden it's like, JD, JD, oh my goodness, you know? So Juwan reportedly said, "So I came running into the dorm room and she had him in her hands and was crying. So I grabbed him and ran to my car and rushed him to the hospital. They got him, I guess, at the hospital. Apparently, little Jackson went into cardiac arrest 3 times and then they told him he was on a ventilator. Drugs were the only thing keeping him alive. Apparently, allegedly, they told Juwan, we can send him to Atlanta. And Juwan was like, okay, sure. But then they said when the air flight got there, they came up and said to him that he was not going to make it to Atlanta. This poor little boy. So they ended up giving him CPR for about 20 more minutes after that. And then they said they couldn't bring him back. This little boy reportedly had a cracked skull, a brain bleed, and there was blood in his lungs. Allegedly, what Trinity told Juwan was, I don't know. She said it happened so fast. She doesn't know. I found this part interesting. She's trying to put it all on me, but she was jealous of him and didn't like him. So I wonder what that's about. I know according to reports, according to the GBI reports, Trinity was interviewed. I'm sure eventually one day we'll see all these interrogations. We know the drill. We'll see the body cam eventually of when she was arrested or when she was brought in or when she was interrogated, perhaps all of it. I don't know how many times from January 14th, 2024 until her arrest, January 19th, 2024, that cops brought her in and interrogated her. We might have 5 interviews to watch. Usually these cops are so good. They do their job. They get the reports from the medical examiner or the coroner. They gather their facts. They can break a person down if that person is lying. If Trinity told people months ago that she was jealous of this little 18-month-old boy and she didn't like him, that's bad. Apparently, allegedly, they also told Juwan to prepare to see the little boy intubated, to see him in a bad state, I guess. That's pretty sad. I think we know what Trinity's defense is going to be. Already these rumors are coming out, and of course these are still rumors, unconfirmed. We will have to compare these to what we get eventually from cops. We'll compare these so-called facts to whatever comes out on the actual arrest affidavit or the actual coroner's report, and we don't know how long that will take, what comes out in court, what comes out eventually at a trial, what have you. Now, more comments on TikTok and other places, social media. One person wrote, OMG, I went to elementary with her. She was known for dating black boys, and she was very talkative. I only bring these things up and race up, you know, because it is a fact in this case. It's a fact and it's a factor. It's already, you know, spiraling up. Some people might say, what would race have to do with anything? Well, people are theorizing that's one reason Trinity and perhaps Juwan kept their relationship secret. I don't know how interracial relationships go over in small town Georgia. No shade to Donaldsonville or Americus or anything. Generally, I guess college towns tend to be a little more progressive, but not everywhere, not always. But people are theorizing that's why Trinity maybe likely hid the fact that she was dating an African American man for a year from her parents. Maybe it wouldn't have gone over well in her part of the country. Who knows? Someone else wrote, I heard it was on the holiday weekend at the school, so there wasn't as many people in the dorms, which screams premeditation to me. I found that an interesting concept as well. True, it was MLK Day weekend. It was MLK holiday weekend. I don't know how many people were in the dorms. Certain people are going to talk about ear witnesses here, though, coming up. That will play into how this case is investigated, the availability of witnesses. If a lot of kids weren't on campus that weekend, since it was a holiday weekend, maybe fewer witnesses. Maybe Trinity's mindset. And we're going to talk about January 14th being Trinity's biological mother's birthday. All of these things play into what's going on here. I got to give it up to True Crime Mama for catching this. It's really confusing knowing who's related to whom. When I saw photos, I thought another woman was Trinity's mom. But according to this obituary, Kimberly Diane Anglin of Bainbridge, Georgia. So she was born January 14th, 1982, and she died May 19th, 2021. And again, all the links are below. But it does say Mrs. Anglin is survived by her daughters, Caitlin Jones and Trinity Poague. And she died, sadly, at only 39. So Kimberly died at age 39, May 19th, 2021, less than 3 years ago. And some people, of course, they're like, why do you guys dig all into this? That has nothing to do with nothing. No excuse. And we're not saying it's an excuse. It's no justification. But it was a good find by True Crime Mama, because I see all of these things coming into play. January 14th, 1982. I learned in grief recovery, when you lose someone, a loved one, the day of their death, the day of their birth, their birthday, all these monumental times that happen after they pass away, of course, you start thinking of that person more. So I'm trying to paint a picture in my mind. Again, it's no excuse. It's just making me wonder if that really was Trinity's biological mom's birthday, Sunday, January 14th. Is she in a state of grief? Is she all angry and bothered that her boyfriend has this 18-month-old son, maybe getting in the way, who knows, of their romantic weekend? Who knows what's going on in her head? And she's feeling that pain. Again, no excuses. I'm just trying to understand what may have happened here. And he's off getting food. And is she enacting this plot that she had been planning? It does matter who the biological parents are and all these things, because it plays into a person's state of mind. If she's all in grief or something, thinking of her mom, her and her boyfriend are in this toxic secret relationship. She's there with his 18-month-old son. Her boyfriend has threatened to break up with her on and off. Did all these things combine in Trinity's mind to make her enact some sort of sick plot? Did she really Google how to do away with a baby? Now, I'm being told, I'm trying to research her major. She was allegedly a nursing major. Did she not realize her Google searches could act as strong evidence against her and could lead cops to realize if it was premeditated or an accident? We're working with few official facts here, so we're painting a picture which we don't know how it's going to turn out in the end. Someone else wrote, I went to school with her in high school. She was a bully and turned her nose up at everyone. She actually kept her dating black men a secret and shamed the girls in our school who did. This girl was never a good person. There hasn't been a doubt in my mind that it was on purpose since I've heard everything. This is someone who purports to have gone to high school with Trinity, knows her attitude. There's some bad stuff coming out about her attitude and just she doesn't sound like a nice person based on what these people are writing. It's sad. It's pretty sad that if this is true, if she literally kept it a secret that she dated black men, and then she has the nerve, if this is true, to shame the girls who date black men. That's very wrong, and that is not biblical. Let me just tell you, God is not against interracial relationships. In fact, look at Moses. Moses in the Bible, married to a Cushite wife. And when Moses' brother and sister, Miriam and Aaron, had something to say about this Cushite wife, this interracial relationship, God did not look with favor upon Miriam and Aaron when they did that. So don't let anyone tell you that, oh, it's holier to keep the races separate, or, no, God is love. God is love. Someone else wrote, she wasn't a nice person in the slightest. I was a new student at the school I went to with her and caught hell when it came to her. They wrote, God will always keep these people humbled. So yeah, again, it's a lot here. Earlier we didn't know Trinity's relationship to little Jackson. Now we know she has no children. From what is coming out, we see her relationship to him, allegedly her boyfriend's son, and it's sad. The best comment was, who could be jealous of or not like an 18-month-old? It's just an 18-month-old little beautiful boy. He didn't ask to come into this world. From what I'm hearing, Juwan is a great dad. There's controversy here because I see the race issue is starting to play into it. I get it. Some people want to know all the facts. There's a difference between knowing all the facts and making presumptions based upon race about who couldn't possibly be guilty and who could possibly be guilty. Just because she's a beautiful beauty queen in her tiara, had the world going for her, doesn't mean that she didn't commit the crime. It just means all the evidence has to come out. It has to be proved in front of a jury of her peers or a bench trial with just a judge. We've got a long way to go with this case, but all things are possible. Another thing that's weird is the funeral of Jackson. Going back to the autopsy for a second, the only thing we really have in writing is that Deputy Coroner Mathis Wright provided further details stating, according to the birth certificate, the child's name was Romeo Anglis. The mother's name was Shiela Anglis, and the father's name was in question, as the man claiming to be the father had given a different name for the child than the one listed on the birth certificate, so that's all confusing. But according to the birth certificate, Jackson was born June 25th, 2022. The time of death was given 4:28 p.m. on January 14th, 2024. So that was almost 4 hours after this whole event, I guess, popped off. Stuff started happening, I guess, around 12:40 p.m. or earlier or so, and by 4:28 they pronounced him dead. Now, the autopsy was performed on Wednesday, January 17th. Coroner Wright would not comment on the cause of death until the results came back from the crime lab in Pooler, Georgia, but he did state a physical exam revealed, quote, the baby did have some type of trauma. That's the basic official info we have, but there was an obituary that keeps appearing and popping up online and disappearing. But according to this obituary, Romeo Angeles, and they spell it like Los Angeles. I don't know if that's the typo or if it's Angeles, and we don't know why this obituary is under his name Romeo, but they're confirming June 25th, 2022 was his birth date. And I've got to thank Veronica at HopeV86 on Twitter X for telling me a lot of this stuff, because I was looking at the obituary yesterday and it keeps popping up in different places. It was deleted, but there's Romeo Angeles is how they're listing this little boy's name. Supposedly the funeral home is Cully's Meadowwood Funeral Home. This is in Tallahassee. I don't know if that's correct. It's saying Romeo Angeles went home to be with the Lord on Sunday, January 14th, 2024. He was 18 months old. He was born June 25th, 2022 in Tallahassee, Florida. He's survived by his loving mother, and this says Shayla Alondra Angeles Garnica, and his sister and his brother, his grandmother, his uncle. To know Romeo was to love him. His smile was contagious. He always brought joy to those around him. He will be incredibly missed and his memory treasured forever. So they're talking about a public visitation will be held Saturday, January 27th, 2024 from 1 to 2 p.m. I don't know if any of this stuff will be streamed. There have been funerals. They stream online, especially after the pandemic. And this is listing a funeral home in Tallahassee. But people are confused about all of this because there's no mention of Jackson Williams, that name, and there's no mention of his dad's name. I'm not sure if the remains of little Jackson were released to his biological mother's family, and perhaps that's why this obituary showed up this way. It's really confusing. So we don't know what's going on. Maybe they changed it because they don't want a huge crowd showing up, because this case is, it's worldwide now. It's being picked up. Court TV, Daily Mail, everyone is starting to talk about it. Now, I know I did see Juwan post some things on Facebook on Monday, January 15th. I didn't want to read this in the previous video until I confirmed more about who was who, but he did say, "This hurts me so much. I lost my son, my best friend, my baby, my twin. I'm just so lost right now. I can't even think straight. I just want you back." That's hard. Previously, we learned that according to Sumter County Sheriff's Office online booking records, Trinity Madison Poague was currently booked as an inmate. She was arrested on all those horrible charges, so we'll still have to just wait for official information. I just wanted to give an update. I've been just so into this case, and I started a Facebook group about it, and I'm trying to gather more and more info. I just didn't want Jackson's plight to be forgotten. I couldn't imagine. I don't know if it's true. Did Trinity give a lot of excuses? We heard this thing that, allegedly he fell off the bed. Well, people are pointing to this photo that Trinity herself posted. If this is the actual dorm room in question, her bed isn't that high off the ground. And so that's one more thing to know. Wait, did Jackson really sustain all these injuries from falling off the bed? It's really doubtful. Just a bed just yay high, about knee high or even shorter than that. It's good to have a good discussion over this and just pray for justice. I hope at some point we didn't see the perp walk video. Maybe we'll see Trinity in court at some point. I'm following up, trying to find information about it. Let's read Jeremiah 2:19 and then talk a little bit about Trinity's potential motivation, even though there's nothing that should motivate anyone to ever hurt a toddler. Jeremiah 2:19 says, "Your own wickedness will discipline you, and your desertion of the faith will punish you. Know, therefore, that it is an evil and bitter thing for you to reject the Lord your God, and for you to be indifferent to me and dismiss the reverent fear of me, says the Lord God of hosts." The Lord God of hosts, that reminds me of his strength. His strength, mighty in battle. His arm is not too short, but this whole picture of Trinity being painted by people who allegedly know her or knew her, it's not very flattering. 18 years old, my goodness, so young, so much potential, and of course, just because a person is beautiful and they're wearing this crown and these fancy clothes and they're in these pageants, does not necessarily mean that their heart is beautiful. And so what was really going on? Was Trinity really a mean girl? Did she treat people badly in high school? And was she snobby? And was she really, in public being rude to girls who decided to enter interracial relationships? Nothing wrong with that. Was she dogging them out and then being a hypocrite and going and doing the same thing in secret? How horrible. Was she just used to, will we find out, she was used to life being all about her, the pageantry, the beauty, the center of attention? It doesn't sound like she had the maturity as an 18-year-old to start dating this man, and I don't know how old Juwan is. I'm assuming around the same age. It looks like they went to the same high school, potentially, just for me scoping out his Instagram and seeing, certain things, but I'm not sure. It doesn't sound like Trinity had the maturity to enter into a relationship with a person who has a child. Obviously, maybe people don't understand how much work and time you must devote to children, especially toddlers, and the life of a teenager. Did she just want to be this girl who had her boyfriend all to himself? Did she start plotting in a sick and evil way? Like, ooh, how do you get rid of a toddler? Make it look like an accident. What will her Google searches actually reveal whenever we see this arrest affidavit or the whole discovery, potentially much later? Did she plot in her mind to get rid of little Jackson, make it look like an accident? Did she not like the baby's mother? Was she lashing out at the baby's mother for even giving this boy up or what have you, if that's the case? Not being his primary caretaker or what have you. It sounds like Juwan was the primary caretaker of Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. I'm glad to see this GoFundMe for Jackson Williams. It's almost reached its $10,000 goal thus far. I hope they, just blow it out of the water. It said Cecilia Smith is organizing this fundraiser on behalf of Javante Smith. Now, I guess Javante Smith is Cecilia's husband. I was getting confused because I was like, wait a minute, is Juwan Williams, is his name Javante Smith? I was getting all confused because there's so many names and it's confusing national media as well. I'm not the only one. People reported that Juwan's name was Jackson Williams, so it's a lot of names being floated around, but the main thing is the GoFundMe says how my heart breaks just having to write this message, the unfathomable thought of having to bury a child. There's no words that can bring peace. No words that can bring comfort. An innocent life that was taken from this world way too soon. A laugh will no longer fill the room. A smile that will no longer light the darkness. Ja has been in our life a long time. It was amazing watching him grow into one of the best fathers around. Now that confused me. Maybe Juwan is his nickname. It's hard to know who was talking about whom. A man that took on the role that even most women struggle with daily. A man that was the sole caretaker of his only child, now has the tragedy of having to lay him to rest. I come to you all to ask for help and support this grieving father in this horrific time of need. Whew, that's a hard one. I was thinking about this little boy yesterday, just being at baby time with my friend and her little grandson, and all surrounded by all these beautiful children, and I just thought, wow, God bless all these parents and grandparents for caring enough about these babies and toddlers to take them to, baby playtime, story time with the little parachute and all the things. And I thought about little Jackson, and I just, it just makes you. Anyway, hopefully justice for Jackson is coming. I hope the truth can come out. If Trinity really plotted in her heart to harm this little boy, hoping it would come off as an accident, so then what? She could have all this time alone with Juwan, his dad, and have Juwan's undivided attention, and for her to be the center of attention. If that's what's going on here, that's truly sad. And if she is found guilty, or if she even confesses, I pray the Lord, really, I feel an urging. I pray the Lord can really just meet Trinity where she is. I pray she tells the truth about whatever happened, whatever that truth is. I always say as a juror, potential juror, I would just want the facts. We cannot convict her, even though, whoever harmed Jackson, they acted as his judge and jury and executioner. But like they say, one of my favorite Bible verses, don't be afraid of those who can kill the body. We fear God, who has the potential to kill the body, and he controls where our soul goes. That's what's most important. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of men and their faces. And the main point is, I pray Trinity tells the truth. If she did this, if she was self-seeking and selfish and just wanted to harm this little boy, get him out of the way, make it look like an accident so she could have more of what she wanted, perhaps more of Juwan's attention, more free time, less responsibility as a surrogate stepmom, let's just say. That's horrible. I hope she can confess and repent strongly, and do her time. If she's convicted, do whatever she's meant to do. I just hope this doesn't turn into this big he said, she said thing where that one line about she's trying to pin it all on me. If Trinity's only hope for survival is to try and make up alternate facts and blame Juwan if he had nothing to do with it, that would be sad. We don't want to see a Casey Anthony situation here where people, for whatever reason, get so confused they don't know what the facts are. But thankfully, we are many, many years away from the Casey Anthony case in terms of technology. Technology and DNA and all these things will likely tell the tale about the time period of what happened to little Jackson, what he suffered, and I always pray for this, like that God just took him quickly. It's really hard, when you think about children suffering. I pray he was taken quickly since he's gone. Of course, we wish he weren't gone. Since he is gone, I pray he didn't suffer much pain. But let's keep watching this case and see where it goes and pray for more actual information, actual facts. I'm sure cops have and are doing their due diligence. They're probably interviewing so many people. There was another comment on here where someone said the little boy was crying. Someone said, I heard there was reports that the baby was crying all night and she was yelling at him. So that begs me to ask, first of all, yeah, I wonder how long were they in the dorm? You know, did Juwan, and I don't know where he came from, did he come on a Friday and bring little Jackson to the dorm Friday? Were they spending the weekend together? I don't know how long he had been there. If they did sneak in, and of course, this is all, again, conjecture, me trying to get in the state of what happened here. If Jackson had been hanging out in that dorm room, and if anyone knows toddlers like many of us know toddlers, they want room to run around. They want fresh air. You know, my son, I always would stroll him in the stroller for 2 hours a day in California. You know, that fresh air really helped. Now, I don't know what happened, but when Juwan ran out to get the pizza and stop at the store, you know, toddlers especially, they can go stir crazy. People can go stir crazy if we breathe too much recycled air and cabin fever. And how long had the little boy been in the dorm room? And again, this is no victim blaming or anything. This is just me trying to pontificate about what could have happened. You know, was the little boy at his wit's end? Did he need room to run around? Was he too confined? What was going on? Was he crying all night? And was Trinity really yelling at him? And did people actually hear, like this comment claims, did people in the dorm hear Trinity yelling at him? You know, and was Juwan not yelling at him? What was actually happening? And was Trinity, you know, did she feel foisted upon this role as the stepmom, 18-year-old stepmom? Her parents don't even know, you know, she's dating this guy, and she just takes it out on a toddler in the worst way possible. These are all the questions in my mind about what the heck went wrong. It's just so sad. Trinity will likely have months and months and years to sit there and think about it. If she's convicted, if she gets life, whatever happens here, it doesn't sound like it was one moment of a wrong decision. From the scuttlebutt and these rumors, it's sounding like this could have been premeditated and pre-planned. And how on earth would anyone do that? Especially, I mean, it's bad enough to lose your temper and go off and harm a child and that child loses their life. That's bad enough too, but it's especially egregious if this was even thought out. You know, we look at the Chris Watts case and we think about how premeditated that likely was. Chris Watts reportedly wrote in his letters to an author, you know, I tucked my girls in and said to myself, that'll be the last time I'm tucking them in. And that's what's really horrible, to think about a person just so demonically sitting there plotting and planning how to get rid of a child. What's even crazier is to think that they would get away with it. And are they envisioning in their mind some child-free life, some happy life they're going to lead, as if that act, that crime wouldn't haunt them every single day, every waking moment? That's my prayer. I pray Trinity confesses. I pray this doesn't turn into some big hullabaloo, he said, she said, no, it's this, no, it's that, and all the racial implications and all the confusing names and situations. What's wrong is wrong, what's right is right. God knows what really happened, and I pray to the Lord that all that truth comes out in Jesus' name soon, ASAP, even saving the court's time of a long, drawn-out trial. I just pray for justice. If she did this, it's bad enough. I pray Trinity confesses and just accepts her punishment, accepts her correction, and still leans on the Lord no matter what, like she wrote in her Instagram post when she was talking about Jesus. There's going to be a lot of growing up to do in that young lady, and this is a horrible act, but while she is still alive, I pray she confesses, turns to the Lord, accepts Jesus as her Savior, and lives out the rest of her life the way He tells her. Thanks so much for watching all of this. What a hard case. Stay tuned for updates about this case and many, many more. Take care.